Netherlands is an iconic area, and nothing is more symbolized by windmills. It's going to be part of the presentation tonight. Opening picture is not our picture, but it's a picture of a photography group in Facebook. It's a very popular area for photography. This is a bike and barge trip we did in 2018. It's a 8-day. Oh, not advancing. I guess I can do it on the screen.
Good thing we have a good tech team assembled here.
Okay.
Hey, there we go.
Okay.
Nice and loud.
Good.
Loud for the audience.
Okay. I wanted to give you an overview of the area to the right and in relation to London. And you can see up at the top is the start for Amsterdam. And the trip, I can't use a pointer on this, but it does go down to Rotterdam.
You want a flashlight?
Rotterdam.
You want a flashlight too?
It won't.
Yeah. In Bruges. I did highlight Dunkirk there, just you wish to see where it was. Much of the Netherlands and Belgium was occupied by the Germans during World War II, and that will figure in part of the presentation. Google Photos has a very neat feature that enables location in your photos.
We're trying to improve the audio.
Okay, very good.
They're not hearing you very well, Bill. And I'm going to switch it over to this microphone.
Okay, Zoomers, we're trying to improve the audio right now. Mark's trying to hook up a different microphone. We know that it's pretty hard to hear and it's quiet. So should be just hopefully seconds yet.
Okay, how can you hear us now? Is it any better?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, talk to us.
Okay. What you're seeing on screen, the colored circles are where we took pictures, and the brighter the color, the lighter, the more orange it is, the more pictures were taken there. But it sort of helps to outline, took by bike and also
Who knew that you could do this on Google? Clever.
it's not advancing again.
That's much better.
Oh, great. Okay, there we go.
But yeah, that's perfect.
As you know, Amsterdam is synonymous with bicycling, but we were still stunned to come out of the train station in Amsterdam and see this many bikes. These are all the commuters that come in by train and or go by train to someplace else to work and commute. And the kind of bike that you see in the foreground there with the step across to get in makes it more convenient, for example, women with dresses to ride. And we would, not unusual to see a businessman in a suit carrying his suitcase riding a bike to work here. Very neat to see. There we go. Okay. When we arrived, this is the harbor in Amsterdam, not too far away from where our barge was anchored or tide berthed. And it was a kind of an overcast day, but still it was stunning to see the number of people, the boats. These are tour boats. As you know, Amsterdam's a very popular tourist destination. We had to wait a few hours before we could board the barge. So we had a few moments, an hour or two to wander around, and which we did, enjoying some of the unique architecture and scenery that we had never seen anything like this before. These are very old cities dating back to the 13th and 14th century. Okay.
We did get enough of a taste that we decided we wanted to go back for more. Now, this picture is, as some of you know, Lois Rothenberger, you know that she is a collector of duckies. And so when we saw this giant ducky in the window of the store, we just knew we had to have a picture for Lois. So this is an official Dutch duck.
Okay.
So I should lean in to Bill. Okay, should we say that again? No, okay. So yes, our friend Lois, who collects duckies, when we saw this giant ducky in the window, we knew we had to have a picture of me and this little fellow. We couldn't quite bring it home for her, but we did get the photo version.
It's fitting in the suitcase, I don't think. Okay. Okay. That's me. We're getting ready to get on the boat. We're carrying, that's how we were traveling there, with a roll-along duffel and a pack. We had just come from a hiking trip, so we had to carry our bike helmets and shoes and bike clothing, as well as our hiking clothing and boots. So, and that was our home away from home for the next week, the Fluvius. This is a Dutch barge that's been converted for bike and barge trips. And we got ourselves stowed away down in our berth. We'll show you some pictures of that later. But these are our leaders who introduced us a little bit in the afternoon. That's Iris to the left and Wilmy to the right. They were our bike leaders and hosts throughout the week. And we also were introduced to the captain and crew. Here's an overview of the week. Our week's itinerary was 8 days, with 6 days of biking, and 3 of those days had bike rides they offered 2 options for bike rides, but as you can see from the distances, they were generally between 20 and 30 miles, and the longer ones were 39 miles, so nothing real strenuous. But still, these are the bikes we rented from them, and most everyone rented bikes. You could bring your own bike, but it's much easier to rent these. They're very custom made for Holland. As you see, they have chain guards, fenders, waterproof carriers for your gear, adjustable seats. You had gears that you could use, and you had, go ahead, honey, you want to say?
Yeah, the one thing that was interesting about at least my bike was that instead of having brakes on the handles where one would expect to have brakes, it was a back pedal brake. Oh, that was interesting to try and get used to. You know, probably some of you had those as when you were kids, but boy, when you haven't ridden one like that for a long time, it was interesting.
One thing that was missing from this flight, that we certainly have to say, was a water bottle carrier. So you really had to carry that in your gear or strap it onto the back of your bike. We left Amsterdam by barge to Vienna, where our biking would begin. And that's me looking out the window and as we exit the harbor. Now, this is very interesting. This is the amazing way our bikes were loaded and unloaded daily. There's 15 bikes to a rack. There's at least 4, and we might be eating breakfast, and the crew would be out unloading the bikes and setting them out for everyone to come out and put their gear on. And this was done multiple times during the week.
People in the back of the room, can you hear okay? Yeah. Okay.
We started our ride in Vienna, and we didn't really have an opportunity to take many pictures on the ride itself. We traveled through nice farmlands and nice villages and homes because they were on a pretty tight schedule, especially early in the week. We had to meet the barge at a certain location. Oftentimes we had to meet a water bus. So that's one thing we missed. We couldn't stop when we wanted to take a picture, but we were able to stop in Schoonhoven. And this is an arch dating to 1601. We stopped here for lunch, and beautiful little city. It's known as the Silver City because back in medieval times, there's many silversmiths operated here, but you still have the canals in the center of the street. In some areas, there's boating. Nice outdoor cafe for a lunch option if you want so choose. Some of the boats in Schoonhoven and views about town. Very nice lunch stop. Soon we're back on the trail, back on the bike path after lunch. And that's our group ahead of us. And finally, we got to our first windmill not too long after at Groot Amers and took a picture. But that was only the first of many we were to learn. That's Lenny. And the beginning of the windmills, we were stunned. This is called Kinderdijk. It's a UNESCO heritage site. It's a village in the Netherlands, South Holland province, known for its iconic 18th century windmills. Its water management features 19 mills, 3 pumping stations, plus dikes and reservoirs that control flooding in the low-lying land. Waterways, pathways, bike trails crisscross the area, leading to the main visitor center and museums. And the other amazing thing is these are working windmills, though they do have backup systems. I would have a pointer, but that red area in the center you hear is the area of Kinderdijk. And this is southwest of Rotterdam. Oh, wrong button. Some more pictures of Kinderdijk. It is such a unique area and probably one of the highlights of the trip.
As you can see, there are a lot of bicycles. And in this particular picture, you can see there are bicyclists as well as, we have bicyclists on one path and walkers on another path. That was not always the case. Sometimes you were sharing the trail with bicycles and baby carriages and walkers, and it was interesting, since it is such a popular heritage site, to try and make your way through here on a bicycle.
Okay. More pictures. And I'll end with another professional photographer's picture of it. Oh, I didn't end. Leaving Kinderdijk behind, we continued on our ride to the Fluvius again. And okay. It doesn't see on. Okay. Once on the Fluvius, we sailed to the town of Willemstad for the evening. Willemstad Harbor is a bit further south than Kinderdijk as we head towards Ghent and Bruges. Very scenic, very enclosed harbor. You can see the berms on the left, there in the picture, those are part of the protective berms for the harbor against invaders. In fact, this area was occupied by the Germans in World War II, and there are the remains of German bunkers not too far right out of the city there. A little view of inside the barge. This is the lounge upstairs from the living areas. The dining room is behind, and the barge has Wi-Fi, probably with satellite internet throughout. Yeah, pretty luxurious. The dining room. And as we're in Williamstad, we would have cocktails perhaps before dinner.
But this is the general routine was that we would come back from our bike trip and have dinner at 6:15 we'd have time to hang out in the lounge and have an adult beverage, and then we would have dinner at 6:15, meeting at 7:15 to discuss plans for the next day, and then around 8:30 we would head out on the town to walk about and see what the town or the village had to offer.
Right. Oh, you can see what the slide on the right is, but this is Iris leading us through Williamstad, and as you were laughing a bit about is the unique building we passed on the walk with the two small children looking in the window and the arms coming up out of the water there to the bottom step, and the sign was translated to see exit for difficult customers. This is the historic Moritz House, which is a government building, but it has quite a history behind it. And you can see the people in front looking at it. As the sun was setting, we were making our way through the streets of Williamstad and back to the barge in time to catch the lovely sunset over the harbor. And you can still see some of those berms and protective dikes here. The next day, we had breakfast and the boat sailed from Williamstad to the town of Toland, and we did a 4-hour bike ride there, only to meet up with the Fluvius again. Above, you can see it, and then we were sailing into Rotterdam. And this was different because we were on Antwerp, yes, sorry. And very unique view of a very large port. I mean, if you were out in the port of Los Angeles or Seattle or Philadelphia, you might see ships like this in dry dock. But it was a unique situation to see that. That evening, after orientation and dinner, we were bussed into town to see a little bit of Rotterdam, and this is the center city, and you can see the unique style of the buildings. Each of those buildings has little statues on the top. The windows are all very unique. These date back hundreds of years. And you see this kind of architecture throughout Netherlands and Belgium, which is why it's so popular. Another view with small cafes in the front and possibly a church in the back there. We were brought to the train station in Antwerp because of the unique construction there. The next morning, we rode to catch this water bus to continue riding to Dendermonde, our evening stop. This bus was not a long ride, just maybe 20, 30 minutes, and we were back on the bike path. Dendermonde is halfway between Antwerp and Ghent. You can see it in the picture there with a drop pin. A little bit of tech issues at times. Okay. And we traveled along a very beautiful bike path along the canal and came upon this beautiful castle, the Wijskirk, Basel. And this was also a lunch stop, so we got to hang out here, and we're lucky to have a nice blue, beautiful day for that.
We could hang out and pretend we actually lived there.
That not working, and yeah. It's not, the advance is not working.
Oh, love that.
Okay,
Oh,
sunset from Dendermonde. The next day, we rode from Dendermonde to Ghent, stopping for lunch here in Borneo, Belgium, and that's part of our crew. Honey, I think you can talk too if you want. Okay. We're using this other mic too. Along the way, we passed the historic Castle Van Larn, and that's me in the front. But we weren't able to go inside, but we could walk around outside. This was established in the 11th and 12th century to guard the approaches of Ghent from the sea. We're very lucky to spend a couple hours in Ghent. We locked our bikes up, and everyone was able to go explore the city on their own. And you can see the unique architecture, the canals, the boats, flowers, and people. Just beautiful. Here's Lenny catching a picture. Another view of the canals, and just a wonderful time here. I think it's probably about maybe 2 hours at the most. Some of the spires of Ghent. And then we had to get back on our bikes and continue to riding to the Fluvius, which then set sail for Oostkamp, but we didn't see Oostkamp, this location, until the next morning because it was dark. But we woke up to this beautiful view. This picture, when it was posted on Google Photos or shared there, was one of the most popular pictures with lots of mentions. We as we had breakfast, I think we sailed down that canal in the background there, and passing by bikers and walkers on the banks till we got to the point where we get on our bikes again. And this was a nice section riding through woods and forests, and with rhododendron in bloom. And this was near Zeldegem, on our way to Bruges from Oostkamp. It's probably the only picture of us together on the trip.
We really were together there, though. Yeah.
I think the name of that castle is hidden in the bar above, but it's all right. It's not critical. But we did get into Bruges. We cycled into Bruges and met the barge, stored our bikes, went in, had a shower, and had an hour to wander about town and see some of the sights. And there again, a lot of horse-drawn carriages and flowers and narrow streets with cobblestone, bikes, flowers, unique buildings dating back hundreds of years. The interesting thing is a lot of these buildings are right close to the water there, so you have to wonder how they hold up and how the foundations hold up. Bruges' golden age may have been the 12th to 15th centuries, and it was a busy trading port. Yet it remains one of the world's most beautiful culture hubs, laden with Gothic architecture and home to early Flemish painters. It's a city that has captured the hearts for centuries. Now, the fortunes of Bruges changed over time. They were very the golden age was the 12th to 15th centuries, but oftentimes that depended on the access to the sea. And that could change as silt built up in some of the rivers and access closed. Then a lot of the trading that occurred here moved to other places that were more, and that actually after the 15th century, it was not as popular, was not as accessible until a resurgence when this development of culture and tourism took place to bring it back. Some more pictures from Bruges. This is probably, of the cities, is probably the highlight city to visit. There's so much to see. We saw only a fraction of what you could see here between museums and sites. You could spend a week just in the city itself, and you need a map to get around the city. It's a old walled city. There's gates to get in. There's a moat around it, and the streets sort of are circular, so you could really get yourself lost in here if you weren't sure what you were going. Now, besides Belgian waffles, one of the most important things here is Belgian dark beers. So, of course, we had to occasionally sample some of those. Okay. Thought it interesting how they parked our bikes up outside the barge, and I think they had them all chained up there while we were in Bruges. And this is a nice picturesque boat near our mooring in Bruges. We're right on the canal there, right on the outskirts. You could walk into town from where we were moored, and we did. The next day, and the last biking day for the trip, was a loop ride out of Bruges, and it turned out to be overcast and cool, so we had our tights on and overcoats. But what surprised me especially is our leaders. We went with Wilmy on this trip, and they do not put on tights or outer gear. They just might wear a rain suit, a dress, and sandals. And whatever the weather is, that's the way it is. And this road to the town of Dom, it's a birthplace of
Eulenspiegel. And who knows what famous piece features Eulenspiegel? Till Eulenspiegel's Merry Pranks by Strauss, very famous. And this is the hero from
and this is the streets of Down. And yeah, we were lucky to catch this as we went over the bridge to see this going down the canal. Back at the Fluvius, we said our final goodbyes to our bikes, showered, and headed out for another town tour. And there we see, we were lucky that the day brightened up again. We had a nice afternoon. You can see more people in the picture to the right as this was getting towards the weekend and more crowds were coming in. Nice canals. You could rent a trip on the boats there on the left to travel through the canals and see the sights from a boat. We were lucky to find Our Lady of Bruges Church is on the left, and inside is this statue from Michelangelo, Madonna and Child. And that's the only carved statue of by Michelangelo I think we've been able to see yet, and very lucky to get so close to it and take a picture like that. Some of the outdoor markets and cafes, the unique architecture, colors. Swans. We're going to give you a little preview of what it was like on the boat here. This is our menu and a view out our dining room window with the boats going down the canal. That's the dining room. These are 4-course dinners that you were served. This last night was the captain's dinner, and that's the captain, and with our leaders, Romy and Iris. That's a typical appetizer. Yeah. We're treated to the Romanian couple on our left were our servers for the week. For the captain's dinner, they dressed in traditional costume. They were working on the boat during this season, hoping to earn enough money to buy a home back in Romania. Nice view with Lenny out the window there. We had some evening dinner music as well. And a final picture of our captain and crew, cooks, servers. Next morning, everyone leaves the Fluvius to travel on or tour more in the city. We walked, wasn't a far walk to the train station in Bruges and checked our bags in and spent some time. We didn't have to leave until later in the afternoon. So we explored some more of Bruges and walking those narrow cobblestone streets and along the canals, finding a place we were there the previous day and seeing that, and some of the similar sites. We did get to the Belford Bell Tower and saw the street performer. I couldn't play videos. We were able to get to the Groningen Museum with 6 centuries of Flemish and Belgian painting, which was fun. And as I mentioned, Bruges is surrounded by water for protection in medieval times and is now bordered by a city park used for relaxation and picnicking. Just very nice area to go sit and relax. And finally, we had to sample some of those dark Belgian beers again. Happy faces as we're finishing up the trip. We wanted to show you our bunk room. A little compact, but spacious enough. It had air conditioning, linens, private bath and shower. Nothing to complain about here. What's included? You can see linens and towels, cleaning, meals, English-speaking local leader, fully guided tours and some short walking tours, daily briefings, maps for cycling tours, coffee, tea until 4, ferry fees for water bus and ferries, most of your personal items, bike rentals, single cabin, travel insurance, etc., personal clothing not included, which is be customary. You can't see the top here again, but we booked this through Saddle Skedaddle. And you can see they've been in business for 25 years. They're based in the UK. They have trips all over UK and Europe, from Scotland, Italy, Spain, France, Austria, Croatia, Germany, Holland, Ireland, Norway, Portugal, Slovenia, Switzerland, all levels of biking, and between road cycling, leisure, mountain biking, family cycling, cycling adventures, and tailor-made trips. We had done a previous trip with them, which was self-guided, excuse me, through the Loire Valley of France, and that was very lovely. But this is the first time we've done a barge and bike. We heard that barge and bike along the Rhone was also very nice from another couple we met on the trip. We can't leave without mentioning HF Holidays, since Saddle Skedaddle is an affiliate of HF Holidays, which is based in the UK, and they also run trips with hiking trips, principally within the UK and all over Europe. We've done a number of trips with them to Slovenia, Spain, Tour de Mont Blanc, Dolomites, yeah, Scotland, and in the Lake District. So I hope we haven't gone too fast, but that's the Amsterdam to Bruges tour. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we're ready for any questions that anyone might have on that. Go ahead.
Well, this is not a question for the tour, but well, it's a question, have you been to Bruges, or have you seen the movie in Bruges?
We were looking at that. We haven't seen it ourselves, but we did look at that today. That's an interesting comedy from 2008. Go ahead.
How many people were on that barge? How large was it?
Well, I think they had bikes for 60. I think there was probably about 40 on the particular trip.
What time of year did you go?
It was about the third week in May.
Did the barge usually travel at night while you were sleeping?
It could travel at night, or during the early evening. It couldn't travel when you were sleeping, because I guess the crew had best too.
How many miles a day did you bike?
Usually, somewhere between 20 and 30 with one stops and there was plenty of time. Just early in the trip, we had to really stay on schedule. We had a little more time. We could do more leisurely later.
They offer a variety of levels of bike trips that you do. Some that have more miles than others. This was, one that we chose. It gave us a little more time to play tourist.
Yeah, and even here, there was an easy and harder bike. I think we ended up taking it easier because you had more time to take pictures. So, yeah.
Were the two bike leaders were for all 40 or 60 people, or?
Yes.
Okay.
But you didn't have to bike up it. I think most people did, but you had to really stay together.
Did you get the same bike each day, or?
Yes. Did you get the same bike each day? We each bike has a number, and you just find your bike by the number each day. Oh, we forgot to mention that there was electric bikes you could rent.
But interestingly, a lot of people tried them, used them for one day, and brought them back and said, "Yeah, thanks, but I'd rather bike."
Well, was it mostly flat?
Yes.
Yeah.
All
All flat.
What factors in particular led you to select this trip? Was it the bicycling? Was it the environment? Was it the history of the area, the architecture? What was it that caused you to say, no, we're going to take this trip and see how we like it?
I don't know if we used those factors and decided. The question was, what made us pick this trip? It's a good question. It was back in 2018. I think we spent 2 weeks hiking. We were looking for something else to do when we were in Europe, and we also bike a lot. So we had been looking at bike trips. We had done the France trip before, and this was very close to London where we were leaving from. So this was very interesting because of the history and the culture there. It would be close by and easy to get to. And we tacked on a couple days in Brussels after this, which was fun. And so that I guess we didn't put as much thought into where we were going on this as we perhaps could have. Last time.
Did you have the chance at all to tour the Amsterdam? I didn't see.
We did not. We just had that little bit in the morning. You could have, if you wanted to, you could have come there a day early and done that.
I've been just in to see.
But the way the trips intersected, we really didn't have time to look at the next day. We got in late the night before and took the train into Amsterdam.
So we literally had just, a couple hours in the morning to tour around town and realize that there was a lot to see there and that we should come back. But
And I'm sorry, did you say you've done other bike trips with this organization?
Yes, we did. We highly recommend the tour of the Lower Valley. Wow, Valley.
Do you want to say something? Like, yeah, yeah, it was, the nice thing, the other trip we did with them was a self-guided tour. And that had the advantage of, you know, if you want to stop and take a picture, you can stop and take a picture. You're not trying to, you know, stay in line with 20 people. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag. There was at least one day on that where we had an interesting thing because the route had changed and they hadn't changed the directions. But or, you know, there was some construction that changed things. But other than that, we found it very enjoyable doing the self-guided tour, and it was a tour in the wine country, which was also lovely. So we got to see a lot of interesting places in that part of the Loire Valley, and would recommend their self-guided tours as well as their guided ones. Any other questions? John, you had nothing coming in?
We have comments, but no questions.
No questions?
Compliments. Compliments.
Compliments.
Good.
Want lights back on?
Yes, yeah.
Well, thank you, Bill and Lenny. Really appreciate the bike tour. Yeah, there's lots of wonderful things out there, and another reason why to be a part of the AMC meetings is to learn places to go. Thank you all for being here tonight. Next month, May 18th, we are going to go to Ethiopia with David Stein. So we are looking forward to that. David has always had very exciting trips in the past. So we are looking forward to that next month. And I see David is here this evening, so thank you for being here, seeing what's happening. And David, we have high expectations for you next month.
There you go. Have to protect the thumb drive that's in my wallet. So I have a presentation all prepared that I've done already. So hopefully it's,
Okay, very good. Anything else for our meeting, for our recorded part? And we thank all of you people on Zoom for joining us. It is so neat. We have 20 people in the room here, and I see that the participants, I think, were as high as 24.
I saw 32.
32 participants, so Zoom wins. But hey, come next time. We'll see you in person. Thank you very much. See you May 18th.